Now, from the nation's capital, here's the Pentagon Channel's ATS in brief.
Senate confirmation hearings started Tuesday on the man tapped to be the next Secretary of Defense. Robert Gates appears before the Senate Armed Services Committee facing questions on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. When President Bush introduced Mr. Gates as his choice to be the next Defense Secretary, the man who's currently president of Texas A&M said he was ready for the challenge.
I believe the outcome of these conflicts will shape our world for decades to come. Because our long-term strategic interests and our national and homeland security are at risk, because so many of America's sons and daughters in our armed forces are in harm's way, I did not hesitate when the President asked me to return to duty.
Mr. Gates has also been working with the Iraq Study Group, which is scheduled to release its report on the Iraq War Wednesday. Air Force demonstration teams show the public what their advanced aircraft can do. Up until last week, East Coast Air Demonstration Team flew the F-15C. Now it's ready to show off a brand new fighter, the F-22 Raptor, with a program unique to the new plane.
We're not taking the Eagle demo or the F-16 demo or the E-model demo. We're starting over because the jet is so different and it can really do things that those aircraft they just can't do.
Expect to see Raptors show their stuff at air shows starting in spring 2008. Traffic can be a mess in downtown Tokyo, and this is one way dignitaries can beat it. The 459th Airlift Squadron at Yokota Air Base uses UH-1s to ferry dignitaries from the popular Pacific stopover to the heart of Tokyo. The base's central location in the Pacific makes it a hub for leaders on Pacific trips, and these choppers can get them to downtown Tokyo in 15 minutes, weather permitting. They've also flown celebrities like pop star Britney Spears, rockers Cheap Trick, and Major League All-Star David Ortiz. You can see more about how the 459th beats Japanese traffic jams on Around the Services at PentagonChannel.mil.
Around the Services, weekdays on the Pentagon Channel.
In Iraq, Major General William Caldwell says the transition of responsibility to the Iraqi security forces is about to accelerate.
We may have an 18-person transition team operating. That team may go up to as many as 36 to 54, 2 to 3 times its current size, to give it greater coverage within the organization it's operating. And then, of course, there are going to be new teams that currently aren't out there being put into other forces, too.
New information is coming out about the pilot who died after his F-16 crashed outside of Baghdad last week. Investigators say Air Force Major Troy Gilbert died instantly in the crash. The findings are based on DNA samples and evidence the ejection and parachute were found intact and undeployed. Officials say they are still looking to find Major Gilbert's remains. Insurgents were seen in the area immediately after the crash.
On the next edition of Freedom Journal Iraq, helping citizens in Erbil and a training exercise for recruits in Habbaniyah. Don't miss these stories and more on the next FJI.
Freedom Journal Iraq, every day at 1600 Eastern.
Some 21,000 service members who fought in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have come back with some sort of disabling injury. After spending time recuperating in military hospitals, many leave the military way of life and enter the private sector.
Those challenges of combat far surpass anything that one could face in the business world.
The service-disabled veteran-owned small business program is there to help. It aims to help severely wounded veterans go into business for themselves and to change the business world's attitudes about hiring wounded vets. DoD has a goal of awarding 3% of all DoD contracts to companies owned by service-disabled veterans. An early gift to hundreds of families this past weekend when about 200 Army Reserve troops came home in time for the holidays. The soldiers are assigned to the 558th Signal Company based in Cincinnati, Ohio. They had been serving in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kuwait. They were welcomed home late Saturday night at Camp Atterbury, Indiana.
I just praise God. I'm happy now that I know she's safe and she's home, because it was scary. But I know she was going to make it through. I know God was going to send her home, and I'm happy.
Oh, I feel so good to be home. I'm so glad. It's been a long time. I'm just happy to be home.
To find out how you can watch the Pentagon Channel where you live, contact Dish Network.
PSP share prices for Tuesday, December 5th opened at $11.67 for the G Fund, $11.23 for the F Fund, $15.57 for the C Fund, $18.94 for the S Fund, and $21.61 for the I Fund. For the Pentagon Channel, I'm Army Sergeant Lee McMahon.